Oh, hey!
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Oh, good. How's the family?
Oh, great. We just got back from Europe.
Oh, good. Reading good books?
I did. I actually read that bestseller, national bestseller.
Oh, The Devil in the White City?
That's the one about H.H. Holmes?
And the Chicago World's Fair?
That's right!
By Eric Larson.
By Eric
He's
Larson.
a good guy.
It was a good guy. Good guy. And a good book.
And a good book.
H.H. Holmes, what a character, don't you agree?
Oh, yes. What a character he was.
About him killing all those people, almost
Oh.
200 by some estimates.
But how about that Daniel Burnham?
That Daniel Blair, oh, genius. Brought that whole fair.
Oh, yeah.
Changed the world.
But you know, while I was reading that book,
Yeah.
I had a few questions.
Of course, maybe I can answer them.
Well, my first question was, what was the big deal about the fair in the first place, you know?
Oh, I thought so the same thing. You know, I think the big deal about the fair was the Ferris wheel. I mean, think about it. It was ginormous. The wheel carried 36 carts with the size of a Pullman, each holding 60 people, and propelled them 300 feet in the air.
You're kidding.
No! And that's higher than the Statue of Liberty.
Awesome.
I know. I mean, it was an engineered masterpiece. And it quickly became the most popular attraction in the fair. I mean, people even asked if they could get married on the fair.
Oh, that's something.
That's something, alright.
But I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
I disagree with you.
Oh! I'm heartbroken. Why? Why is that?
Well, I don't think that the Ferris wheel was the only reason the fair was a big deal.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I think it was more of the publicity that the fair brought to Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, let me read you a little
Of
quote
course,
from the
please do,
book.
please do.
In a single day, 713,646 people had paid to enter Jackson Park. Jackson Park being, of course, where the World's Fair was being held.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And it says that more people than had attended any single day of any peaceful event in history,
No.
including the Paris Exposition in 1889.
Oh my God.
Mhm. But guess what? Along with this astronomical rate of attendance,
Yes.
also brought in a bunch of revenue.
It did. How much?
It did. In that single day, one day, it brought in over $1.5 million.
No.
And that was in 19th century money. Amazing, isn't it?
Amazing, yes.
So that's what I think.
Yes, what do you think? You know, you make up a good point. You make a good point. But I think, I would disagree. You know, I think the fair in itself, the fact that it didn't fail, was why it was so successful. I mean, think about it. When Congress finally said, Chicago could have the fair, it would be only 2 years. 2 years to build a whole fair. I mean, that's, oh my God. And he had to fight disease, crime, weather. I mean, let me just read you a passage, please. June 13th of the year that the opening ceremony was supposed to be held, a storm destroyed a large portion of the Manufacturing and Liberal Arts Building. That's where the opening ceremony was supposed to be held. And Chicago and Burnham prevailed, and they built a fair that surprised everyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's certainly an accomplishment, building a fair in 2 years.
2 years.
But I have to tell you, I disagree. What I think another big deal about the fair were all the different cultures and items that it introduced to America. Like things that are just so commonplace in households today, like Cracker Jacks. It was a genius idea. But also, you like Frosted Mini Wheats, right?
I do!
Shredded wheat cereal?
Yes!
That was introduced at the Chicago's World Fair.
Oh my God!
You see? All these things that we have were introduced in Chicago World's Fair.
Yeah.
But also, one of the most prominent cultural exhibits there was
Yeah.
an exhibit called The Street in Cairo.
What was that about?
As the name suggests, it was an exhibit of different cultural aspects of the city of Cairo in Egypt.
Yeah.
One of the things it introduced, one of the biggest things was, of course, the art of belly dancing.
Well, I like them belly dancers.
Of course you do. But, exactly. It also introduced many different kinds of music from the Middle East, foods from the Middle East, all sorts of things from that area of the world, as well as different things from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
That was a big deal, you make a good point again. I want to kind of move on to H.H. Holmes because half the book was about H.H. Holmes and his crimes that he committed in this era. It's a beautiful time during our part of our history,
Mm-hmm. So, I
Yeah,
had the question.
of course.
You know, there were police, there were detectives, all
Yeah.
sorts of agencies to
Yeah.
stop crime. But as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
the death toll could have been as high as 200
That's right.
people.
200.
What made him so successful in killing?
Of course, I can answer that question. I mean, what made him so successful was his charming good looks. I mean, just let me read one of the things that a woman said about him when she first met him. She said he wasn't that good looking. But after, she said he was a charming man. And now that she knew him, she saw that he was really quite handsome. And he had those marvelous blue eyes. Again, every girl he met said he had marvelous blue eyes. I mean, they captured my soul. Like, come on. Marvelous blue eyes that caught hers and seemed to warm her entire body. And then, of course, later Holmes would murder her in a gas chamber. But the fact is, every victim loved him and thought he cared for them, and of course loved his blue eyes.
Well, I don't think it was just because of his good looks alone. Well, you know, good looks are only half the battle, right?
Yeah,
The other part comes from personality
That's
traits.
true.
He broke the social boundaries of his day.
Did what?
He did. Let me read you a passage from the book. It says, he broke prevailing rules of casual intimacy. He stood too close, stared too hard, and touched too much and too long. And get this,
God, what?
women adored him for
Oh, no.
it. Adored him for it. So as the last sentence in the quote says, women adored him. His breaking of social boundaries, so women naturally were drawn to him.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to try. His targets came to him. To him. I guess you could say he was the father of the chick magnet. Yes, he did.
You know, you make up a good point again, you know. Holmes was, you know, his charming good looks and the fact that he broke social boundaries had something to do with it. But I think the major fact was the fair itself. I mean, think about it. You know, 1,000 trains a day entered and left Chicago. Many of these trains brought single young women. These, of course, were the women that Holmes went after, who had never seen a city, but now hoped to make one of the biggest and toughest their own. And another fact, crime rose. And the police, you know, they could do nothing about it. I mean, they found themselves without the manpower or the expertise to manage the volume. So, and Chicago was on the eve of the greatest fair in world history. I mean, it was so easy to get lost in this big city.
of course.
Of course, yeah. Would you agree with me?
In part.
In part?
In part.
Mhm.
I believe that the fair only had partly to do with his success. I think the other part came from his World's Fair hotel that he built.
Right, yeah.
You know, as its name suggests, the World's Fair Hotel, it was obviously located very close to the World's Fair, the park.
Yeah.
You know, as one quote from the book says, that Jackson Park, obviously, where the World's Fair was only a short trip east of his hotel, making Holmes's hotel an ideal place for visitors to stay.
Of course.
So naturally, visitors to Chicago were drawn to that hotel since
Yeah.
it was the closest to Jackson Park. But also, if it weren't for how the hotel was built, Holmes would never have been nearly as successful. In fact, not only were the rooms filled with his favorite target, young women, but he also had gas lines hooked up to the rooms.
He did. That's
And
right.
from his personal apartment, he could flip a switch and have toxic gas flow into the rooms and having the guests die in their sleep. Or if Holmes was feeling adventurous, you know, since he was the owner of the hotel,
Yeah.
he had every key to every room. So at night he could sneak into the guest's room with a cloth soaked with chloroform, press it over their mouth, and suffocate them. Just like that. Exactly. But also, not only that, but in his basement, he also had a vat of acid, a dissection table, a vault, crematoriums.
Oh my God.
He could easily lead his guests down there with a charm and good looks. You know,
Mhm.
they think he's a trustworthy man, so
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
they'll follow him down.
Yeah.
And then just when they're not looking, they'll push him in the vault, close the door, and start the gas.
Quite the character, I
Like the character.
But you know, just back to the fair, because you know the fair was such a big deal. You know, what was the motivation? I mean, why would they build the fair in the first place? You know,
You know, I really don't know.
you know, I'll try something out. You know, see if it's right. Do you agree with me or not?
Yeah.
You know, I think it was because the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower was, of course, the centerpiece of the Paris expedition. And, you know, American engineers wanted to prove to America, the world, and Paris that they're better, you know?
Yeah.
The American engineers are the best engineers. So they wanted to build something that could out-Eiffel the Eiffel Tower, of course. And when Eiffel himself asked if he might submit a proposal for a tower, to American engineers, it was like a slap in the face. Just like that. I mean, what he was saying is, only I could out-Eiffel the Eiffel Tower. And American engineers was like, no, 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 we're better. We'll build a better masterpiece for our fair. That could out-Eiffel the Eiffel Tower.
Exactly.
What do you think? Do you think that's a...
Well, the Eiffel Tower was only part of the Paris Exposition,
No.
was it
It's
not?
part.
Well, obviously there was so much more to the Paris Exposition than simply the Eiffel Tower. In fact, the Paris Exposition was a whole event. It was a big event as a whole. And I think the entire Paris Exposition was what really motivated America to put on their World's Fair. Obviously, America at the time was a significantly young nation, right?
Yeah, of course.
They only wrote the Constitution some...
Yeah, 100 years ago.
Yeah, a little over 100 years ago. So America was still trying to establish its prominence in the world, right? They wanted to prove to not only Paris, France, but also the rest of the world that, hey, we have something to offer.
Mhm.
We are a good country, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to challenge Paris and put on their own exposition, you know, obviously becoming eventually the World's Fair.
Sure.
That's what I think was their motivation.
Yeah, I agree, you know, but I want to go back to my first point. You know, American engineers, but, you know, American architects want to do their part too. They want to say, not only American engineers are better, but American architects too.
Yeah.
So, Burnham, the main guy behind the fair, of course,
Mhm.
asked to join the expedition. People like George B. Post, who designed one of the most recognizable buildings that is still widely in use today, that being the New York Stock Exchange. Burnham also asked Charles McKim, who later in 1902 would help restore the White House, and in 1904 made contributions to the Metropolis Museum of Art in New York City. Another architect that Burnham went after was Richard M. Hunt, who not only built this base for the Statue of Liberty, but also was the founder of the American Institute of Architects. Burnham also made Frederick Olmsted the landscape designer for the whole fair. Olmsted's greatest achievement, however, and I bet you didn't know this, is Central Park in New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you know that?
I do now.
You do now. Do you agree with me though? Do you think that's why?
Well,
The motivation behind the fair?
I guess, but you said it was to establish architects, right?
That's right.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
But going back to my point about America as a nation,
Yeah.
you know, also within America there was an inner conflict about which city was able to host the fair,
That's right.
right? And Chicago at the time was still a growing city. It was still building itself as a city. They had just recently earned the title of second biggest city in the United States.
Yeah.
So it was still competing, especially with New York.
That's right. That's right.
New York City at the time was considered the cultural capital of the United States. That was the place to be, New York City.
New York City.
Chicago wanted to challenge that. Chicago wanted to prove themselves as the cultural capital. Chicago was basically telling New York, hey, you're not the only one that can do fancy things like this. We're Chicago, we have class, we have culture, we have all these things. Let us host the World's Fair. And so obviously in the end, they did. They did.
And what a fantastic fair.
What a fantastic fair.
Eric Larson, the great book.
Great book, great author, great historian. I gotta say, I admire his work.
Great artist, you know. Painted this beautiful picture in my mind. Maybe go back to the 1893.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful fair.
I think Daniel Burnham really outdid himself with that fair.
At H.H. Holmes, I mean, what a psycho. What a psycho.
He was a psychopath.
He was the first psychopath. The first serial killer. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, great discussion, you know. We didn't really know this book.
It really did.
You know. Have good luck with the wife.
All right, take care.
Take care.